Welcome back everybody to another MOTOBOB video here at Motorcycle Live, the best motorcycle show in the UK, and this time we're checking out Royal Enfield with a bit of an overview of their lineup for 2025. So here we go with my picks of the bunch. So we'll start off with the 350 bikes. It's an air-cooled single around about the 20 horsepower mark, and they use it in quite a few bikes now. So you've got the Hunter behind me, you've got the Meteor as well, which is a little bit more cruiser style. Then if you want something a little more traditional with the aesthetics, you can choose from either the Bullet 350 or the Classic 350. I think though I'd go for this Hunter because I think it's a really nice aesthetic. It's got a little bit of that modern retro slightly custom look, and at just under £4,000 I believe it's the most affordable of the bunch, and so it'd make for a great little city bike. I wouldn't say the 20 horsepower engine is particularly invigorating out on the open road, but around town there's enough torque and shove there to get you in front of the traffic, and I did enjoy this one a lot when I tested it out on the UK launch in London. If you're going a little further afield though, then I'd thoroughly recommend checking out the Gorilla 450, which uses their new Sherpa engine, which is actually liquid cooled as opposed to being air cooled like the 350s. Now it's just over £1,000 more at $4,995 starting price for this Gorilla 450, but I think it is probably worth it just for that engine alone. You see, although it is only 100 cc's more in capacity, it's actually just under double the power. So this one's just under 40 horses, the other just over 20, and so it's much more appropriate for riding at, quicker road speeds when you're getting up into your top gear at 60 or 70 miles per hour. The other bikes, the 350s, do feel a bit gutless, whereas this can just about hang in there, and it does make for a much more fun ride and a more capable ride as well on the motorway. The only downside is it is quite a vibey engine when you do get up to those speeds, but there is a lot of other good stuff about it. It has a bit of a big bike feel to it, very spacious ergonomics considering it's a middleweight bike, and I'd also say I really do quite like the styling, and they've got a great selection of vibrant colour choices, so there's something a little bit more exciting about it than maybe some of those 350s. On top of that, in the cockpit you've got their round TFT display, which was first seen on the Himalayan 450, and so that opens up some different themes and views and also some connectivity features, including turn-by-turn nav if you use the Royal Enfield app. So yeah, I'd say easily worth that extra £1,000 versus the Hunter 350, and our full review of this bike recently went up on the channel, so do check that out if you want to find out more details. I will say though, don't be tricked by that semi-off-road inspired, almost flat track styling on the Gorilla 450, because it's not really built for proper off-roading, and if you do want something that can do a bit of on-road and a bit of off, then you'd be far better off with the Himalayan 450. Now of course, being built upon the same platform, a lot of the architecture is shared. It's the same Sherpa engine, the frame is pretty similar as well, but this one rolls on spoke wheels with a 21-incher at the front. It sits taller in the suspension, and also the riding position is a little more conducive to being stood up. This one I'd say is still great value as well at $5,850 starting price, and you do get a bit more versatility for your money in terms of it being an all-rounder adventure bike. And like I say, the only thing I do wish is that the engine was that little bit smoother. It feels more meaningful perhaps in this sort of bike where you might be doing a little bit of touring, whereas the Gorilla I think is a little bit more city and back road focused. But look, cool looking bike, good value for money. I like that TFT dash, and so I don't think you can complain too much for the price. But look, before we get on to the next bike, I'd just like to say a massive thanks to REBELHORN for supporting the channel and sponsoring this video. They provide all of our riding gear for this year with a brilliant selection of jackets, jeans, adventure suits, gloves and boots that always have me looking good, feeling protected, and all at a great price point. In particular, I've been riding a lot in their Hunter 2 leather jacket, which suits a lot of these retro style bikes, but also recently their CUBBY 5 adventure suit, which if you do fancy picking up a Himalayan is absolutely ideal. It's a really versatile suit with multiple layers, a removable waterproof membrane, and so it's my go-to clothing at the moment now that the weather's turned a little bit. So do check out the link in the description down below to find out more about the REBELHORN lineup of products, and once again a massive thanks to them for their support and making videos like this one possible. Now it's kind of interesting that I can't see a 410 air-cooled Himalayan here, or the Scram 411. They are still listed on the Royal Enfield UK website, but perhaps the fact that they've now got the liquid-cooled Himalayan in the lineup means that those bikes might be phased out fairly soon. You would have thought they'd have them here if they were still going to be selling them in the next year. but I'm guessing it looks like they're on their way out, and it does make sense. I do feel like that 400-ish air-cooled engine with 20 horsepower for a fairly hefty 200-kilogram bike is just a bit too underpowered, and once you've ridden a 450 Himalayan, it doesn't really even compare, and it doesn't really make sense to buy one. Now, that might be a bit controversial because I know they've got a huge cult following. I know they're simple, appealing, affordable bikes that are fairly easy to repair, but in my experience of riding them, I've had a much better time out on the 450, and I'd love to hear from anyone in the comments who's also ridden both. One lineup though that's remaining extremely healthy is their 650 parallel twins. You've got loads to choose from the Interceptor Upright Retro, the Continental GT Cafe Racer, the Super Meteor Cruiser, and also the shotgun sort of sporty cruiser. But there are a couple of new additions, including this one that we covered at EICMA, the Bear 650, which is a little more Scrambler inspired. It is overall fairly similar to the Interceptor, but just looks a little more rugged with the semi-knobbly tyres, the slightly jacked up suspension, and although I probably wouldn't say it'd be your first choice for off-roading, it certainly does have the image of a proper Scrambler, and I think it looks really rather good. One thing I always like about Scramblers as well is that more open, spacious riding position because of the high and wide handlebars, and it's nice to see those specced up here too. And you've also got that lovely TFT display from the 450 bikes, which I think is the first bike in the 650 lineup to get it, so I wonder if they'll roll out that update to some of the other 650 models in the coming year or two. Now, like I say earlier, Enfield always do such a good job of offering a wide range of interesting colour options, and this bike is another great example. We've got a few behind us here. I do like this deep blue with the red panels, but we've also got a mint green on the frame with a white tank over there. And then, of course, you've got a stealthy black one at the end, which, you know, they're always going to be a good seller too. This one starts at $6,749, so one of the more premium models in the Royal Enfield lineup, but it is worth pointing out that the immediate competition from the likes of Triumph with their Scrambler 900 or from Ducati with the Scrambler Icon, well, those bikes are up near the sort of £10,000 mark, and so this one does really undercut them by quite a big amount, if sacrificing quite a bit in terms of performance, but I think some people will be willing to trade that off to save a bit of money, and this probably gives you the most authentic old school riding experience with that lovely air-cooled twin. On top of that though, we've also got another entry into this 650 lineup in the form of this, the classic 650, and I've got to say, in this chrome black and gold, it really does look every bit the typical old school Royal Enfield. It all ties together perfectly with the nice long mud guards. It's got that little peak above the headlight nacelle as well with the instruments set into it, and a single seat setup as standard, although I do believe you can spec it up with a passenger seat if you delve into that accessories catalogue. I will say probably less so my cup of tea versus something like the Bear 650, but if you do want a truly classic looking bike with plenty of authentic old school soul from an air-cooled twin engine, then this bike is probably going to be one of the best on the market. Now, another major announcement from EICMA in Milan was the introduction of their first ever electric motorcycle in the form of the Flying Flea, which of course takes its name from a historical Enfield model. But unfortunately we don't have them here on the stand today, but to be honest, there isn't much in the way of details. There's no range, no performance figures, no charging times or anything like that, and so I'll have to wait a bit to get the full details and give you a proper walk around when we get the chance. Still, I will say, in the big picture, it's an interesting development all the same, because Royal Enfield could be one of the first major brands to sort of break into the electric market and make it mainstream. It feels like the only significant attempts so far are things like Harley with the Livewire, but that was very much pitched as a recreational bike that was really quite expensive. The Flying Flea is intended to be for the city, where electric bikes, in my experience, tend to perform best, and also it looks like it will be built down to a reasonable price point, but still have plenty of that Royal Enfield style, some retro inspiration with the Solo saddle and that sort of girder style fork. And so look, it still ultimately all comes down to the price, but I think it could be a major development for the electric motorcycle market. So that, my friends, rounds off the 2025 Royal Enfield lineup, and I'd love to know if anything caught your eye down in the comments below. Also, we'll put our playlist on the screen now of all of our Motorcycle Live content, so you can catch up with all the videos in case you missed any, and I would recommend hitting subscribe if you haven't already to see all of our videos as soon as they go live. A massive thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next video.